For the first time ever, Little Wars TV ventures into the world of historical board games, and we've chosen Shogun, a 1986 strategy battle game by Milton Bradley, where 2 to 5 players battle for control of Japan during the Sengoku-era, the age of the country at war. It's a fabled chapter of Japanese history that recently returned to television screens with the reboot of James Clavell's popular novel, Shogun. The show earned top marks from critics and set viewership records for FX. It was also a hit here in the club and inspired us to break out our copy of this Milton Bradley classic. We'll give you a quick crash course on how to play, talk about some of the unique house rules we've adopted, and you'll see the entire game play out, start to finish, with 4 players battling for control of Japan. In the end, there can only be one Shogun! Even though we've never talked about board games on the channel before, we do play a lot of them here at the club. And this is an old class that Greg and I played as lads.
Yeah, I mean, I played this way back when, along with a lot of people playing the entire series of games like Axis and Allies, Conquest of the Empire, and Fortress America. I'm old enough to remember this game by its original title, Shogun. There's some drama behind that name, because in 1995, Milton Bradley was forced to change the name to Samurai Swords. There were some copyright issues around the use of the name Shogun due to the conflict with James Clavell's 1975 novel. In 1983, FASA had released an officially licensed board game, also called Shogun, and that made it pretty awkward when Milton Bradley published the exact same title. And the confusion doesn't stop there, because in 2011, Samurai Swords was rebranded yet again, this time as Ikusa. Okay, so here we see this FASA game that is actually a licensed version of James Clavell's novel Shogun. And you can see the look of it, but also included are cards here referencing Blackthorn, Mariko, and other characters. This was a line of games that FASA produced that went with these James Clavell novels, including Whirlwind, which has one of the best taglines ever. The family game of adventure in Iran during the final days of the Shah.
Family game.
Yeah.
Think of the children. I think about fighting a proxy war in the back of Beyond.
Yeah. Hey, let's bring the kids in. Bring the grandkids. The television series certainly inspired some conversation here among the guys. But we also picked this game because we're an historical wargaming club, and Shogun is set during the incredible Sengoku-era of Japanese history, a century-long period of civil war, shifting alliances, peasant revolts, and palace intrigue. I mean, the game itself has kind of an interesting history, because if you think back in the 1980s, this was actually a pretty innovative game. Shogun, along with Axis and Allies, was part of Milton Bradley's Game Master series. I remember buying both games when they came out, and they were about $40 or so, which was actually kind of expensive for a board game in the 1980s. But games with hundreds of plastic miniatures were not the norm. It was something new. But at the same time, the simplicity of the system, this actually works. I mean, this is like a forgotten classic. This is a game that people would still enjoy and can still enjoy even now.
And even like back in the 90s when these started coming out, late 80s, early 90s, as kids, getting 200 monopose spearmen or monopose little risk guys, that was a huge thing. That was the most miniatures you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Let's briefly talk about how to play. We're going to keep this primer short because you'll learn throughout the video. For now, you need to know that Shogun is an area control game where players battle to control as many provinces as possible on this map of Japan. The first player with 35 provinces wins the game. In your quest to become Shogun, or the supreme military ruler, you will start with 3 armies. These army tokens move around the map and can include a variety of units that you recruit each turn. You can also place individual units on the map as well, but the armies are unique because your generals level up in experience as they win battles. Also, if you ever lose all 3 armies, you're out.
At the start of each turn, players secretly spend their currency, called koku, to recruit new units, build castles, and try to hire the ninja. More on that later.
Yeah, the rules really aren't all that complicated, but there's a lot of strategy and depth when it comes to winning. You can download the original game rules for free, as published by Hasbro. We'll leave a link to Hasbro's free PDF in the description if you want to read them.
We'll also leave a link to some key house rules we've adopted here in our club when playing this game. Zach, why don't you explain those to our viewers?
Here are the 5 updates we've made to the original game. These are all intended to make the game more strategic, more historical, more interesting, more fun. First, we use the optional Quick Start setup. This gives each player some choice in their starting provinces, so it's not entirely random. Second, the provinces for Kyoto and Osaka start with a neutral fortress, making them both harder to capture and adding a little historical flavor to the game. Third, We use strategy cards designed by other players over the years. These custom cards add random events, objectives, and battle abilities into the game. You get one new card each turn. Fourth, we enforce an endgame countdown that triggers whenever the first player is knocked out. Shogun can drag on for a long time when you're down to the last 2 players, so our new endgame sequence makes everything faster and tenser. Finally, we use victory points to determine the winner. This means controlling 35 provinces does not guarantee you that you win the game. Provinces are important, but we've created multiple pathways to victory, rewarding different playstyles. All of our house rules are available free on littlewarstv.com. That includes 2 pages of new rules, 8 pages of custom strategy cards. Using these cards really elevates this board game to a new level, as you're about to find out.
Hi there, I'm Greg, and I'll be your play-by-play announcer for today's board game. I've been playing Samurai Swords with Zach since middle school, and I'm going to offer commentary and analysis throughout the video. I am not a player in today's game, just a third-party heckler. I'll interview the players throughout, asking them about their strategies and their key decisions. Our 4-player session is underway as the guys deal out province cards to determine starting locations. Deployment in Shogun is randomized, which means no 2 sessions will ever be the same setup. But as Zach noted in our house rules, we do allow players some limited choices. There are 68 provinces on the map, but we only deal out 44 cards in a 4-player game. The rest of the cards are available to be claimed by the players, choosing one at a time. This allows you to strategize a little bit on your deployment. Remember, the provinces for Kyoto and Osaka are neutral fortresses due to one of our house rules. Kyoto was the imperial capital at this time in Japanese history, and Osaka was the most important economic hub in Sengoku, Japan. So, no one can select those 2 cards to start the game. They'll have to conquer those provinces the hard way. Each of the fortresses is garrisoned by 5 ronin, and these are pretty stout units in the game. Yes, this is my copy of the Samurai Swords board game, and I did hand paint 2 of the fortresses to really stand out and help identify Kyoto and Osaka.
Yeah, so the problem I'm seeing here right now, this initial setup, is that I've got these provinces right in the center, they're right outside of the 2 victory province locations. The problem is everybody else is concentrating stuff here. So I have completely abandoned that center, and what I'm going to focus on is I'm going to focus on the large southern islands, which also have a footprint in, try to put my armies into those locations and use them to conquer the south and then come back into the center.
This is my first time playing the game, and I really don't know how Zach and Wyatt are going to go about this. Chow, I know Chow. I like what I was given because the randomness of the draw was such that it directed me southward. Because of this draw, it's apparent that I need to focus on the south because I have more starting provinces down there.
I'm surprised that given Josh's southern focus and his fear of Chow, that he allowed Chow to draft Bungo in our setup. That, I think, was a mistake. Josh's own selections, he's the blue player by the way, are all concentrated in the center, a very dangerous, difficult spot to play from. His son Wyatt is the orange player and also has a pretty clear concentration in the north center of Honshu. It's not surprising to see Wyatt select a string of connecting provinces that will effectively split Zach's randomly dealt holdings. Zach is our red player, and we're about to see which provinces he chooses to add in the draft.
So I started off with a scattering of provinces across the map, but the biggest concentration I had was in northern Honshu. So I thought, okay, I should start there. But I noticed when I picked the red player color that I had the name Oda on my sheet, which made me really want to conquer Kyoto and Osaka. I'm hoping that this gambit pays off and I can seize that sweet extra event card a turn.
Oh no. No, Zach. I can't believe he's thinking about Kyoto and Osaka in the center of the map. That is an absolute trap, and he's a veteran player of this game who really ought to know better. He doesn't have a great setup, but there's enough provinces concentrated in the north that I would pile my armies into that region. The north is my favorite opening in Shogun. You have limited sea lanes to defend your back door, and you have unobstructed paths for expansion into the middle. Zach has been playing Shogun for 20 years, just like me, so I am surprised to hear that he's looking at Kyoto and Osaka so early in the game. Josh has what I consider a poor starting position. Wyatt, the orange player, could have a strong claim on the north if he goes in that direction, and he should. Finally, we have Chow. Chow has a scattered opening, so I understand why he feels the need to focus south. That is my second favorite opening in Shogun. The challenge down here is all these sea lanes. It's just too easy for an aggressive mainland player to keep you bottled up and prevent you from expanding, because there are combat penalties when you attack from a sea lane. The other players should absolutely pinch off Chow's foothold on the mainland as early as possible. When I see a player who's gunning for the southern strategy, I look to these 4 provinces as the key to containment. Alright then, the board is set. Each side has placed 3 armies on the map and alternated placing their spearmen and starting units. And for turn 1, the players are all bidding their koku to make purchases. This phase of the game is done in secret, so you don't know how your opponents are spending their resources. But I'm going to show you right now what's happening behind those hidden player screens. Chow spends his 5 koku on 2 swordsmen, 6 spearmen, and a castle. Not a bad opening. Josh buys 2 swordsmen, 3 spearmen, a castle, and 2 ronin. Ronin are the most unique unit in the game because they are 1-turn mercenaries. You only keep them for a single game turn. However, Ronin get deployed on the map in secret, and they ignore the stacking limit. In Shogun, you deploy new units onto the map with a maximum of 1 per province, which forces you to spread out. But because Ronin can be stacked, it makes them sneaky dangerous. Let's see Wyatt's opening. He's buying 3 spearmen, 2 gunners, a castle, and he's bidding 1 koku on the ninja. Very interesting. We're going to talk about the ninja in a second, but first, let's go to Zach's opening purchase. Also, 6 spearmen and 2 gunners, but he is hiring 4 Ronin. I'm not sure I'd splash that much koku on Ronin this early in the game. None of our players have bid koku for initiative, which means that we're going to have a random draw for who goes first. This is where players draw a sword, which gives you the turn order. I love these little plastic swords. The new version of the game, Ikusa, does not include them. On turn 1, it's going to be Wyatt first, Chow second, Zach third, and Josh last. In the build phase, Wyatt drops a castle in Iga, a curious choice. Chow builds in Awa South, which makes total sense to me. I love building castles on sea lanes, which are natural choke points for movement. Josh does the same. He builds his castle right next to Chow at a very strategic node. That is exactly where I would place a castle to contain and choke off Chow, as I talked about earlier. Zach did not build a castle, which is usually a sign of early aggression and expansion. I am a big fan of the no castle opening because it allows you to get a jump on your army size. Castles and fortifications are expensive, 2 koku. Before we get to movement and battles, there is the little detail of the ninja. Remember, Wyatt was the only player to bid koku for the ninja's services, so he automatically is going to win control. And on turn 1, Wyatt declares an assassination attempt on the daimyo of Zach's biggest army.
All right. So, was it an 8 or less?
8 or less. 8 or less is assassinated.
So,
I'm hoping,
get a dice and just roll it over there.
I'm hoping big things here for you, buddy. I want 2 or 3 would be good. 2 or 3 would be good.
9.
9 is not good.
I will assassinate you back. The ninja actually works for me.
Which general would you like to try to assassinate?
Oh, let's find out.
Daimyo. They're not.
This daimyo. I'd like to assassinate the one in the castle.
Yeah. Oh, that would be Kobayakawa. What are the chances on that?
Kobayakawa, was it a
9 plus?
9 plus? 2. Nope.
So just a flat out useless.
Fail.
Piece
That's
of crap
springy.
ninja.
Yeah, you hired the Beverly Hills Ninja. That was your mistake.
Yeah, so he's been relieved of his duties.
The ninja may have proved useless on turn 1, but it definitely has already established some bad blood between Zack and Wyatt right away. Personally, I don't like hiring the ninja this early in the game, in part because I think it tips your hand on which of the other players that you're gunning for. And it is Wyatt who is up first for movement. As expected, he attacks Zack first, capturing Omi and Sagami. But then, somewhat unexpectedly, at least to me, Wyatt makes a big play for the neutral fortress of Osaka. And with some fabulously lucky die rolling, he seizes control of the fortress with relatively minimal losses. That is a turn 1 masterstroke.
So, quite surprised that I was able to take Osaka this quickly, but nonetheless, very happy with the results. I am a bit worried about how this is going to make me look as far as the other players wanting a piece of the pie, so to say.
Next up in the turn order is Chow, who conducts 5 attacks, captures all 5 provinces, putting him squarely in pole position for those southern islands. If he can keep these 3 footholds on the mainland, the other players better start getting worried. Zack will go third.
Now, attacks. I'm going to just see if it works.
1-on-1?
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not?
I got to make up some ground. I lost a lot of territories.
No, I wouldn't. I don't blame you.
I think that's most of my attacks.
You have a general who is not attacking currently, I think. Oh, no, did I miss somebody? No, there it is. My apologies. I just want to make sure you didn't miss somebody.
Okay, so...
Where would you like to start? It's mostly against me. What is up with that?
Well, I want to consolidate the north. You're
know.
Definitely going to take my islands.
Yeah, that's cool.
So we'll just trade north for south. And
that's kind of what people end up doing.
Yeah. Okay, let's start off here. This is pretty nice and simple.
Yeah, this ought to be good. This ought to be really good.
Uesige, 3 gunners, no kills.
Okay.
1 retainer, 6 does kill.
Is that the bowman?
Yep.
Okay. Yep. So that was what? Kaga?
Yeah.
Shogun is a game where you have to announce all of your attacks with these little arrow tokens before resolving any of them. And on turn 1, Zack has a lot of ground to make up. He grabs back 3 provinces and then announces our first major battle of the game.
And then lastly, the big one. This is a big army fight. It's my biggest army.
The Battle of Omi destroys Wyatt's first army and results in a major victory for Zack. But both sides are bloodied and bruised.
So, not really surprised with Zack here. I mean, it's only natural he would have attacked me, but I want him to know that there's just a sheer and utter vengeance coming for him, and that all hell will break loose imminently.
Again, I'm surprised to see a veteran player like Zack come out swinging so hard on turn 1. I have to wonder if Wyatt maybe got under his skin a little bit. In Shogun, you want to pick easy fights on the first turn or 2, generally avoiding any bruising, risky battles that could leave you vulnerable. On his first turn, Josh seems to already be picking up on that.
I'm tempted to make a move on the capitals. Because I do have some positioning there, but the problem is Zack and Wyatt are so strong there. I don't know if I want to let them kind of sort things out for me and then make a move kind of afterwards.
Allow me to answer that for you, Josh. Yes, that is exactly how you win Shogun. You let the aggressive players pummel each other, and then you swoop in to feast on the carcass of what's left. Josh has a pretty safe round on turn 1, taking 3 provinces and avoiding any bloody entanglements.
Peasant Revolt.
That doesn't sound good.
Mandatory event. Play immediately and discard all provinces with a garrison of only 1 unit. Roll 1d8. On a 3 or less, remove the unit and make the province neutral.
Oh.
Earlier in the video, Zack mentioned the event and strategy cards that we use when we play Shogun. These are a fan-made addition to the game, and Peasant Revolt is possibly the nastiest card in that deck. It impacts all the players, but the dice gods are really not smiling on Josh today.
Right.
Oh my
That's
god.
an army.
That's an
Dude, look at this. I lost 3 in a row. 4 in a row. You gotta be kidding me, dude. This is the end of my game.
There's also a tsunami played at the start of turn 2, which forbids any sea movement along the sea lanes for the turn. After the event cards, players conduct the secret Koku bids. Let's peek in on Josh first to see how he aims to recover, after losing 5 provinces in that nasty peasant revolt. He's buying 2 Ronin, 2 gunners, and 6 spearmen. He had enough Koku for that, by the way, because he also played an event card of his own, a bumper crop, which gave him an extra Koku for the turn. That's badly needed, I would say. Josh's son Wyatt is buying 3 spearmen, bidding 1 for the ninja again, and dropping 2 Koku for a fortification. I do like Zach's bid. He's bidding 1 Koku to win the initiative, buying 2 Ronin, 2 gunners, and 6 spearmen. Very aggressive, just my style. But the best turn 2 build phase has got to be Chow's, because his event card was the Macau trade, giving him +2 Koku, and he's bulking his armies way up. 2 swordsmen, 2 Ronin, 2 gunners, 6 spearmen, and a fortification. During the construction phase, Wyatt upgrades his castle at Iga to a fortress, a little bit of a curious choice, and Chow builds a new one at Bungo. That is a strategic point for him, straddling 2 sea lanes, so I generally like that placement, but here I think it's a little too defensive, because honestly he should be pushing his borders well past this point by about turn 3, so I think this is a surprisingly conservative castle location for Chow. Initiative order is going to be Zach, Wyatt, Josh, then Chow. Before we get to the maneuvering, we do have the business of the ninja, which once again goes to Wyatt as our only bidder.
Do we have a famine this turn too?
No, sure did.
Keep your eyes on your own army.
No, man, I gotta get some reads. Gotta get some reads.
I think you should lock down Oda.
No,
Oda is eyeing up the Imperial Palace. I think we need to lock Oda down.
Do not hide it.
I'm actually least concerned with Oda.
You're least concerned. I am very concerned with Oda.
I will protect
And
the
you're-
young emperor.
All right,
That's why I'm marching on the capital.
Send.
Who are you going after? Oda?
Ah, good.
Yes.
Excellent.
Yes.
Excellent
I
choice.
like this.
Excellent choice.
All right.
Chalagawa sends his invoice.
Sends his regards.
Joshi, welcome you in my province.
What's the roll? 9 or lower?
And no, 8 or lower. 8 or lower, and then 9 or higher if he fails.
Okay.
8 or lower, bud.
8 or lower.
You
Let's
can
get
do
it, let's
it.
get it, let's get it.
Yeah, 3.
He's dead.
Woo.
Okay.
So
Goes back
he's
down to 1.
right, and we just tip him over.
Yeah.
We tip him over because he's there. His army's there. The daimyo himself is not there, but the army itself is there.
So Wyatt's ninja has just killed the leader of Zach's army at Omi, immobilizing that army for the turn. It's a potentially big deal, and it leaves Zach some really hard choices as he plots his attacks for turn 2. He's going to be missing one of his armies. Interesting little business that you'll see happening off to the side here as Zach discusses his opening moves with Chow. You're watching Josh and Wyatt talking a little bit of sidebar diplomacy, and they're making a non-aggression pact, which I think is a smart play for both of them, because remember, they are the 2 players who are sandwiched in the middle of the map. Players are free to make whatever deals they like in Shogun, and good players will cut deals frequently. Zach's attacks pick up a number of provinces, including some empty neutral ones. Wyatt is up next. He picks up 3 easy targets, until once again he shocks everyone with a bold move to attack Kyoto, the neutral imperial fortress and capital city. It's a bloody affair, but he does win control. This is going to make Wyatt a huge target, in my opinion, so that deal that he made with his dad is probably very well timed.
So now that I've got Osaka, going after Kyoto, it's just not even a question in my mind. It's something I have to do. Pride is taking me a long way, and it's going to take me to the end of this game to a straight victory.
And Wyatt isn't the only player making a big move on turn 2. His dad Josh surprises everyone with a stunning play of his own.
Wyatt assassinated Oda. So now that he's got a weaker general in his place, I decided to take Takahashi over to a large engagement. My large army versus his large army right outside the capital.
The second battle of Omi is a big one, and remember, because of the assassination, Zack is missing his daimyo for this one. Here is the starting matchup. Each round of combat in Shogun starts with ranged units, the bows and the gunners. Here you can see the combat table from the original rulebook. Samurai bowmen are the best unit in the game. They will hit on a 6 or less. The gunners hit on a 4 or less. Bear in mind all the dice in this game are D12s, pretty unusual for the 1980s. After shooting, you assess losses and you move on to resolve the melee units. Battles can go for multiple rounds.
Oh, I'm gonna press one more round. All right, I got my luck's got to turn.
You got it. You got it. You got it. You got it.
All right, 2 shooting kills.
One kill back to you.
Alright, there you go.
Boom. Eliminated. Oda's dead.
Yeah, that was bloody. Bloody. He took out 8 units. He took out 8 units. Bad. That's gonna be costly. And Chow's sitting over there loving it, licking his chops.
Oh my god, I love it. Too bad I don't have an army right there.
Zach, why did you just couldn't just die right off the bat?
Why'd you attack me?
After 4 rounds, Josh completely wipes out Zack's army. But he's lost most of his own army in the process, which makes this a crippling victory, and one that I'm not really sure serves Josh's long-term interests. He does retake most of his rebellious provinces this turn. And Josh, he's right about one thing. Chow is licking his lips at the sight of all the other players pummeling each other. When it's Chow's turn, he continues consolidating the south with relative ease, although Josh does turn back Chow's attack at Hyuga. Quick sidebar here. I have no idea how to pronounce Japanese province names, so you're just gonna have to go with it. Apologies to our Japanese viewers.
I have actually had some success in consolidating the southern provinces. I still have a couple of holdouts, but the armies are definitely consolidating, and it's crazy. The rest of the guys are like gutting each other in the center. Like that's all they're doing is they're just destroying themselves.
Now, let's take stock of the board state as we begin turn 3, because this is about to be a very eventful turn. Notice the blocks of color that are consolidating across the map into zones, which is very common for the mid-game of Shogun. The early game is all about consolidation. The mid-game is when the dominoes really start to fall. Question is, who is going to make the next big move? We start with the event phase, where Josh plays a famine on Chow, costing him 1 koku. How will Chow spend the rest of his resources this turn? Well, with 4 koku, he's buying 6 spearmen and 4 ronin. I wonder where he intends to plop down all those secret ronin. That'll be interesting. Josh buys 2 gunners, 6 spearmen, and a fortification. Zack is down to 4 koku right now, and he picks up 4 gunners and 3 spearmen. Finally, Wyatt is flush with cash because remember, Osaka has been giving him +1 koku every turn, so he can afford 2 bowmen, 2 swordsmen, 2 gunners, 3 spearmen, and you guessed it, yeah, the ninja again. Literally nobody is bidding for this ninja but Wyatt. In the construction phase, it's only Josh this time, and he builds a new castle at Tamba for reasons that I can't quite figure out. There's no real threat to him in the center, so why is Josh still ignoring Chow's encroachment? This seems to be a major blind spot. Then it's ninja time. I assumed that Wyatt would look to slow down Chow, who is on his doorstep, but no, Wyatt is going back to his old playbook and targeting Zack again.
Alright.
Wow. That's brutal.
All right, brutal assassination.
Okay, so 8 or lower?
8 or lower.
Alright.
5.
And again, Wyatt pulls off another assassination, immobilizing Zack's largest field army at Hida for the turn. For just 2 Koku over the last 2 turns, Wyatt has royally screwed up Zack's strategy.
God, you were too young to remember you remember the early 80s? Remember the ninja movies, like once they started coming out? Like, yeah, they had like...
With this ninja and everything. I think even like Dallas had
God, they were ninjas everywhere. Every goddamn thing you could think of had ninjas in it. Jesus.
Yeah.
They made ninjas there.
That was the great karateization of America. Like, come on.
Yeah.
I mean, who didn't own throwing stars in the 80s? I mean, everyone owned a throwing star in the 80s.
American Ninja 5.
I had homemade nunchucks or so at one point.
Yeah.
For at least one player today, ninjas have been no laughing matter. Zack is the first in the turn order, and he's down to just 1 mobile field army. He has to content himself with scooping up some cheap wins, adding a net total of 4 provinces. Wyatt goes next, and he finally makes a move against Chow, and it's a big one, seizing Kai. It's a critical territory controlling access to the mainland, but instead of hammering Chow further, Wyatt ends his turn with a major battle against his old foe Zack. Wyatt attacks Hida, where Zack's largest army is immobilized and vulnerable. Here is the matchup. Zack is missing his daimyo due to the ninja, but he still fields a pretty formidable force. The first 2 rounds of this battle are costly for Wyatt.
Yeah, he's got 10 units. He's got 10 combat units.
No, you gotta pull out. There's no way. The odds are way against you.
Alright, I'll pull back.
After 2 rounds of combat, Wyatt decides to call off the attack and retreat. Despite being immobilized by the assassination earlier in the turn by that ninja, Zack is holding out at Hida.
Wow, Uchimama.
Next up, Chow conducts a mop-up action in the south, and he reveals his 4 Ronin to assist a massive naval assault from Awa South to retake Kai. I knew this was coming. Kai is just too critical. Wyatt does have a trick up his sleeve, playing one of his event cards to deploy 2 surprise Ronin. It is a hard-fought battle, but Chow is ultimately victorious, and he uses this same army for a second follow-up attack. Daimyos in the game level up as they win battles. As you gain levels, you also get the ability to move extra spaces. This is so critical to winning the game, and it's why it pays to make cheap, easy attacks early in order to boost your level. Chow is the first player to really make use of this ability, and he follows up his attack on Kai with another into Yamato. To end his turn, he does something else that veteran players will often do. After combats, armies are allowed to take a non-combat move, and because this army can move 2 spaces, Chow retreats all the way back to Awa South, ensuring that he has a safe buffer zone and that he won't be caught out in the open next turn. That is textbook Shogun strategy. Last up in our turn order, Josh goes on the offensive against Chow and seizes 2 provinces. Is Chow about to experience his first serious challenge from 2 allied players? Let's go around the table and see what the players are spending their scarce resources on for turn 4. Remember, all the bidding is secret and simultaneous. I'll start with Chow, who is now up to 6 Koku. He's buying 1 samurai bowman, 1 swordsman, 1 gunner, 6 spearmen, and 6 Ronin. That is a lot of mercenaries, and I really want to know where they're going. In fact, I can tell you. Chow is secretly deploying them at Aki, so that means he must be planning a knockout blow against Josh. Is Josh ready? Well, he's buying 2 swordsmen, 2 Ronin, 3 spearmen, and a fortification. I think he's going to need it. Josh's ally of necessity, Wyatt, looks like he's picking up 2 swordsmen, 4 Ronin, 2 gunners, and 3 spearmen. That's plenty of troops to do some damage. And guess where he's going to spend another Koku? Yeah, the ninja. Look, it's been working so far, so why not keep going? Finally, Zack bids for 2 gunners, 6 spearmen, and a fortification. No one bid anything for the turn initiative, so it is a random sword draw. Wyatt will go first, Josh second, Zack third, and Chow last. During the build phase, Josh upgrades his castle on Awaji to a fortification. I think that's going to ultimately prove to be a waste, given what we know about Chow's intentions. Zack has also spent for building a fortification, and he drops a new castle at Matsu. Interesting. That tells me that he must be looking for a corner where he can turtle up for this turn. Next is the ninja phase, but this time Wyatt's die roll fails. Interestingly, he was targeting Chow's powerful daimyo in Awa South. That would have been a big hit if he had rolled better. Then it's on to marches and battles. Wyatt takes a lightly defended Kai and Shimosa, and he makes another attempt on Hida. Again, this is a big matchup, except this time, Zack has a daimyo alive for once.
Okay, melee.
Melee, you have
Daimyo.
spear.
Swordsman.
No, sword, sorry. Swordsman. You have
Spear.
I don't care.
That's a hit for the swordsman. Now you're daimyo. No hit for the daimyo. So one
To nothing.
One melee.
Okay.
Oh, kind of remind you actually got a spear that you
Oh,
could
yeah,
try
okay,
to,
that guy.
you know,
Thank
and
you.
sort out what you got left later, I guess.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
Are you pressing?
Once again, Wyatt aborts the attack and retreats. He has really been distracted by this inconclusive skirmishing and sparring with Zack. These guys are just bleeding each other without an end in sight. Josh is up next, and he seems content to hunker down. He picks up 2 lightly held provinces. Zack goes third, and just as I expected, he has a passive turn, picking up Shinano and Kazuke from Wyatt.
Well, I only have like 4 or 5 coins. My armies are seriously depleted, and I have a lot of territory to defend. But I'm now on the back foot. I've lost so much fighting Wyatt that I need to maneuver my armies to keep them safe so I can hope to take the north in the future.
That brings us to Chow, who we know from his Ronin bid is not planning a passive turn. He opens with an army attack into Iwami and presses into Izumo with a double move. Then he drops the hammer by revealing his 6 Ronin with the army at Aki.
I'm not totally sure, Trasigi. But we're going to find
Well,
out.
it has to get done.
It has to get done.
It has to get done. So for better or worse,
Yeah.
whether I slaughter you on the field now or slaughter you on the field later, it's got to happen.
Yeah.
Chow's attack is declared against Bingo, where Josh has a substantial force of his own. Josh is also holding a strategy card.
All right, I'm going to play charge.
Oh, you bastard.
So I get -1 on all my die rolls. But does not include bowmen. Gunmen. Includes my bowmen, but not gunmen.
Okay.
So,
Okay, so we're going to start off with missile fire. Is that correct?
yep.
I have hit 3 times.
I've hit 2.
And now I have 3 muskets.
I have 2.
Muskets get another kill.
I get 2 more kills.
Okay. Okay. Melee, is that correct?
Yep.
The battle is bloody, and it goes for 4 rounds before Josh's army is eliminated. Defenders in Shogun are not allowed to retreat unless they have a strategy card that specifically permits it. Victorious in battle, Chow immediately presses a follow-up attack into Bichu, and he seizes it.
So it's kind of an interesting turn for me. I'm definitely completely consolidated in the south. I realize that after my defeat of Ota, Josh's one daimyo, which was this huge battle, I don't even remember how many units we both lost in this, but I'm the only player now that still has three armies in the field. I feel pretty good going into the late game at this point.
But at this point, after 5 hours of play, our players decided there would be no late game. They wanted to call it. Shogun can be a very long board game, and I think at this point, after so many hours, all of the players at the table were ready to accept that Chow was likely to be their new supreme military ruler.
I'm completely fine calling a game. I'm very fortunate in that I have a circle of friends that love to board game. And therefore, I get to play the biggest, baddest, longest war games on the earth. And I get to play them regularly. And we're talking 5-6 hour games sometimes. If I would only play a board game once a year at that scale of a big game like that, I think maybe I'd be more inclined to stay until we finish it. If you're looking at a game and you're looking at the board and you're saying, okay, I think the writing is on the wall here, guys. I think we can call it. Yeah, that I'm fine with that.
Taking a look at the final map, Chow's current victory point lead is not decisive, but he's the only player with 3 armies still remaining. And while his opponents may still hold many provinces, their manpower has been hollowed out. It would take a couple more hours to see this through, and you never know what would happen, but we ended our game today with Chow as Shogun. If you want to hear our players offer post-game commentary and do a little bit of a Monday morning quarterbacking of their decisions, we have a free bonus video available right now at littlewarstv.com.
I didn't really fight you, but shake your hand.
Yeah.
Wait, hold on. You killed Oda, you son of a bitch.
Oh, yeah, I did.
You kicked me when I'm down.
Hey, we had a secret agreement.
Yeah,
It's all
good job.
Oh, who would have thought the father and son would have a secret agreement?
Yeah, who would have thought?
This was our first historical board game on YouTube, so what do you think? Should we do another one sometime? If you want to hear about the YouTube series that inspired us to try this video format, go to Little Wars FM and listen to our podcast with Gary Blevins of Board Game Nation. Gary produced an amazing series of videos on last year's Axis and Allies World Championship, and the format of his videos very much informed the style that we developed for today's Shogun recap. Later this month, we're back on YouTube with the conclusion of our club renovation, and we can't wait for you to see the new space. And we're playing our first historical war game in the new Crusader Castle. Can you guess which famous battle we might be playing next? Hit subscribe and don't miss it.
So is that an advertisement for Shogun or for crystal meth?
Okay.